as a quilting teacher, when Maria travels from class to class, she used to take 3 bags. Now you're down to 1.
I created this bag so I didn't have to haul quite so many things. It's big and it's roomy, and it has this really soft filling in there that's foam. Easy to stitch through, and you can do a quilt as you go, and you're done. It's great fun.
The quilt size that we have here, not the quilt size, but the tote size is 27 by 48 inches. You could make it any size you'd like, but this program specializes in pre-cut bundles. And
Right.
Maria, this collection color that you chose is pretty, but the advantage is you didn't have to choose the fabrics.
I didn't. I opened it up, and here's all the coordinating prints all ready to go for me. So I open and create. It's wonderful.
We're going to be working in half scale on this table, so we didn't have quite such a large piece of fabric, and the foundation is a foam by the yard, and it's thick and spongy, easy to sew through. So we've made this half scale just to show you the technique of working with strips. We've cut the strips down, but you wouldn't have to do that because you're working with the pre-cut fabrics. You have a line marked.
I do. I started with a 45-degree line. So using just my rotary ruler, I'm going to line up that 45-degree mark on the raw edge. Take my marking pen and draw a line right up the ruler. Shift it to get up to the top edge, and I am ready to go.
So you're going to choose 2 strips, meet right sides together, pardon me.
Correct.
And place them on along that diagonal line. You can mix and match, you could gradate the colors, make them contrast. The choice is yours, right, Maria?
Correct. And when I line them up, I want to make sure they extend off of the raw edges so that the foam is completely covered when I'm done.
The machine is set at a wobble stitch, a slight zigzag, and here you can see we're stitching down using the presser foot as a gauge, or you could use a 1/4 of an inch seam allowance.
Correct.
And just stitch the straight edge. And when you're finished, you have a sample that looks something like this with 2 strips.
Correct.
And we'll flip and then do some pressing.
And I'm simply going to take the one on top and fold it over, and there's my first 2 strips.
We talked about that wobble stitch, and just with a 0.5 of your zigzag, it works well on this foam.
It does. And it looks more straight when I'm finished than a straight stitch. A straight stitch tends to pucker it.
Ooh. And when you press on an angle, you get a facial. It worked out well. Now we put the next strip down, and you'll be working on a flat surface, of course, when pressing, but now you meet again right sides together.
Correct. And again, I'm going to extend that strip off the edge. And this is a full strip, so coming up short isn't going to be a problem here. I'm going to stitch it, and we're going to flip one more time.
And you can trim off the excess fabric, and you keep stitching, flipping, pressing all through until you cover the whole
piece of foam.
This next sample is multi-stepped because you'll notice that the fabric will go off the edge. And so Maria has started to trim off the excess fabric.
I just want to clean it up so I have a straight edge to stitch along again.
And the book that accompanies today's program will give you all the yardage you need for the straps, but you're going to create one continuous strap and center the strap on the base of the board, base on the tote, and then stitch.
Yes, and make sure you don't go all the way to the edge, because then you're going to be trapped when you try to finish off the top
so
edge.
you have a little down a little bit further from the edge. And then you fold it in half and cut out a gusset. Now that's a 2-inch gusset on the big size.
Correct.
You can do 1 inch on the smaller size, but that will allow you to get that nice shape. You'll be sewing right sides together of that side seam. And then the second program that accompanied, the second program of this series, we showed how to do this. You can watch that program online if you'd like, and then sew across. Let me get that going. It's just virtual sewing here, but then you get that gusset shape.
Right.
Looks kind of poorly done right there, but when you turn it right side out, it has a box shape at the lower edge, and that's what you have with lining all ready to go.
And there's the straps on.
It's magical how that happens.
It's magic,
isn't it?
yes. And there's a lining put together, and I'm simply going to insert Instead of stitching around the top and turning, we're going to put this inside. So now you've got a beautiful color in there.
Yes, wrong sides together. And let's take a quick look at the finished top, and then you put it on like a binding on a quilt, but the final stitching was decorative.
Yep, I used a decorative stitch with the thread that kind of matched the lining to finish it off with, so you could use whatever you like.
The Quilt and Go Tote, a perfect way of using pre-cut strips.